In the picturesque town of Oakwood, nestled among rolling hills and whispering trees, lived Emily, a young woman whose days blurred into a tapestry of routine. She found herself entranced by the timeless wisdom of Aristotle's words, "What you habitually do, you become." Haunted by the realization that her habits no longer aligned with her aspirations, Emily embarked on a journey of self-discovery. With trepidation, she dared to dream of change, to break free from the chains of familiarity that bound her. Setting her sights on distant horizons, Emily charted a course of small, deliberate steps. Each morning, she rose with the dawn, embraced new rituals that propelled her toward her goals. With each passing day, she felt the weight of old habits lift, replaced by the exhilarating promise of transformation. Yet, in the triumph of progress, Emily also encountered moments of doubt. In those dark hours, she sought solace in the warmth of connection, finding strength in the unwavering support of loved ones who believed in her when she struggled to believe in herself. Through tears and triumphs, setbacks and successes, Emily pressed on, fueled by a determination as fierce as the winds that swept through the valley. And as the seasons turned and the days grew shorter, she felt the unmistakable stirrings of change within her soul. Until one day, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky blazed with hues of gold and crimson, Emily stood atop a hill, overlooking her beloved town. In that moment, tears of joy mingled with the gentle rain that fell from the heavens as she realized she had become the architect of her own destiny, the author of her own story. And in that realization, she found not only freedom, but also the boundless potential of a life lived with purpose.
In a world where chaos seems to reign supreme, where uncertainty lurks around every corner, and financial markets are now more unpredictable than ever, there's one place you can turn to find clarity and control. Welcome to the Wealth Wisdom Financial Podcast.
Hey, I'm Brandon.
And I'm Amanda.
Join us as we dive deep in the world of personal and business finance
to assist you in navigating through the chaos and building the financial future you deserve.
We believe when conventional financial thinking doesn't get you where you want to go,
you need wealth wisdom.
So if you're ready to take control of your financial destiny,
tune in to the Wealth Wisdom Financial Podcast.
Because in a chaotic world, your money shouldn't be.
Subscribe now and never miss an episode.
So that was a powerful story, Amanda. Now today we are continuing our stories. If you haven't noticed, we're writing a bunch of different little stories, and you might be saying that's a good movie trailer.
Or you might say, I want some of that kind of story. We hope like these are stories that we want others to live in their lives.
Yeah. So take us back to that. So again, before I go into that, we are doing a series, and we're doing 12 foundational money principles, and it's coming from this book, 5 Smooth Stones. It's an amazing book. The author, I like her a lot. So
we're the authors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, totally check out that book, 5 Smooth Stones. And she has a lot of good things that she wrote in that book.
Well,
meaning you and me.
Yeah, you gave me feedback, co-wrote. Yeah. I mostly wrote it and then got feedback, and Brandon made it better. But one of the core things in the book is that it's not just about learning principles, or like the one we're going to talk about today is as old as Aristotle, and it's been iterated so many different times in so many different ways. We're not pretending like we're teaching anything new. What we want to do is help inspire you to implement it more and more intentionally in your life and apply it to your money. What a lot of people have never done with some of these ageless wisdom is apply it to their wealth, hence wealth wisdom, right? So we're going to be helping you think through what that could look like. And then the book helps you then actually like do it and put it into action. So let's go to this thing. What you habitually do, you become. It's often attributed to the philosopher Aristotle, But the exact wording and origin of this quote could vary. Maybe Aristotle stole it from somebody else. We're not really sure.
Maybe Aristotle had a neighbor that said it and he just like took it from him. I don't know.
Who knows? Yeah.
But Aristotle said, oh, that my neighbor of mine said that. That sounded cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to write it.
But because it's been used in so many different ways and by various speakers and authors and philosophers over time, just shows how powerful it is. And the idea that it's also lasted for millennia, taken on those various forms, means it's pretty powerful. You could apply this idea to all sorts of areas in your life: morning routine, fitness, eating, working, personal development, bedtime routine. And of course, we're going to help you with applying it to money.
But let's go back to Emily. Can you go back to that story and what did she was doing? Habits, and then she changed her habits. Is that what happened?
Yeah. So essentially she saw like, okay, she had habits and they were not helping her become who she wanted to become. The cool thing about habits is, guess what? You can change them.
Yeah.
Sure, it might be difficult. It might take some time. We're going to talk about one of the most important things to remember when it comes to changing habits, but that they can be changed. But actually, before we get to how you go about doing that, we need to talk about motivation. One of the things that's true in Emily's story, and we hope in your story, is that you're going to do what you're motivated to do. And if you have some kind of motivation, hey, this habit is not getting me where I want to go, I want to change it, that you have some kind of motivation, some kind of why behind it that helps you, actually make that change, because it is hard to change habits. And if you're thinking, well, I don't have habits. No, you do have habits. We all have habits. It's naturally, it's part of being human to have habits. Sometimes you might need to be aware of those habits, see where they're currently leading you, and then find the motivation to change them. Okay. So now let's talk about how you can change them. We got a few ideas. Are you ready, or do something else?
Something I was thinking about is one of my friends, he says, what will you do when you're 82? Kind of idea.
Yeah, Mr. Less.
Yeah. So if you listen to that and think about old me, I think about this a lot, and then want to look and say, okay, what am I doing when I'm 82? How does the life look? And usually you can picture you're doing certain routines or habits, right? And you're like, oh, I'm 82 though, right? So habit of having family around or kids or
brushing your teeth every day.
Yeah, those things. I think that's an important thing of seeing, and that's why the book is so important, is because you can then picture future you.
Yeah, so that's actually a good segue into the first thing we like to suggest in trying on how you might change your habits so you become who you want to become. And that's to set your sights. Like, which comes first, right? Knowing your goals, what habits you want to develop, or finding the motivation to develop them. It's kind of a chicken and an egg, but I like to think of it more as a mutual beneficial symbiosis. We're not literally laying eggs, right? We're not chickens. We don't have to have one and then the other. We can have a clear vision, and that can give us the motivation to see that vision in reality. We can have some motivation, and that gives us motivation to create the vision, to make it more clear, right?
Yeah.
The idea is to not get stuck in the sights or the motivation. Not spend all your time visioning, creating that, setting your sights, not spending all your time trying to find the motivation and get yourself off the couch or whatever, metaphorically. But how can you have the vision and motivation go with each other? And that's why we set our sights regularly. Our motivations often change as our visions change, all those kind of things. So that's first and foremost.
And then I think it's, Grant Cardone is like that massive action idea. And what it is, I think, is massive appropriate action, and seeing again those habits that are going to lead us to the right actions, habitually showing up to the gym, or not eating certain things. Maybe that's a good habit of abstinence.
I think you're reading ahead.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, because number 2 is find a creative next step. Sometimes when we have these really big visions, we think, oh, just massive action, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to get even motivated because you're like, I got to do all these things. And they feel far away, they feel difficult. It's easy to lose that motivation sometimes. But especially if you think of the sacrifices you might need to make, the costs you have to pay. This is when a special dose of imagination, I believe, is required to find the absolutely doable next step on your journey. You have to know all the steps ahead, right? But to find the absolutely doable, hey, that almost seems too easy, next step that you can build upon. You might not be able to see, right, the whole journey that's ahead to get to that vision. You might not even know if you're 100% in the right direction,
Yep.
but you're at least get moving. Here's a principle from physics: an object in motion tends to stay in motion. You find that next step that you feel absolutely doable, you take that next step and you keep going. So that's find the creative next step. Don't feel like you have to have everything. Just be like, okay, if I want to do X, then I need to do Y, and Y is way easier than X. I'm going to go ahead and do Y, and hope that I get to do X as well.
And I think that's really helpful, again, for our money journey, because then as we start doing those little things, those habits become big rocks, as we started in the beginning of this series of what you put in first. Those
Little rocks
become
big
really
boulders.
really big boulders that
Yeah.
you're able to use. And then when stuff happens, you have a giant boulder to stand on.
Yep. And then I think you're totally reading ahead. So what's awesome is as those rocks grow, you can celebrate the milestones, right? I had this little pebble, now it's doubled in size. I'm going to celebrate. And that actually continues the motivation, continues to fight against imposter syndrome. Who am I to have done X now? When you celebrate X and you see what's next after that.
I did kind of help write the
I'm
book, so I did read ahead.
Yeah.
Technically.
And don't forget, celebrating milestones can cost exactly $0. Find unique, fun ways to do that, however it looks. Going for a walk outside, for instance, great way to celebrate a milestone. Going for a hike in nature, I don't know, whatever.
Or if you have the profit distribution, buying a nice fancy watch if you feel like to.
Or a sports car.
Or a sports car.
You get to determine what celebrating a milestone looks like. Yep. Okay. And then finally, fourth idea for finding the motivation to change habits is connection. When my motivation tank is empty, when I'm feeling like I can't do that habit, I'm going to just, my case, eat a whole bag of potato chips. It's my vice or whatever. I find that connecting with someone else just fills me up. Even, just a little, but usually a lot. I don't have to talk to them about the habit I'm trying to build. Just being with others, connecting with them, seeing who they are, that we actually care about each other, those kind of things, that often gives me the motivation to get back on my journey. Even if we didn't talk about money or we didn't talk about potato chips, whatever it might be. I find that those conversations really help. Now you might be like, who can I talk to? I don't know who I can talk to right now. Guess what? We've got a special invitation for you.
Ready to take the next step towards securing your financial future? Whether you're planning for retirement, saving for your dream home, or you just want to make your money work harder for you, the team at Wealth Wisdom Financial are ready to assist you. And now, it's easier than ever to see how we might give you a boost on your financial journey.
Schedule a 15-minute discovery call with one of us today.
And let's discuss your questions and your financial goals together.
Don't wait any longer. Your financial freedom awaits. Schedule your discovery call at www.wealthwisdomfp.com/call.
Okay, we hope to see you on a discovery call soon. Go ahead, pause the episode, go schedule that, and we're going to come back and conclude.
So also, this is part of the reason that we created the book is, there's Amanda and I, we're together, we are a team, right? But sometimes we're on our own journey. We are, maybe we're single starting a business, or our spouse is not in the business and all of that. And so we feel like we're alone, right? And so that's, again, why the book is important, right? To help in that regard. But then we have a community that we've really put a lot into and try and foster, because it's not just us, it's about the community, the other people. And we're all on a journey, but sometimes we might learn that there's people that have resources that maybe we need, almost like they have, or when we need, or I don't know, too much Settlers of Catan there. But those are things where a community is really helpful. And that's why I joined a community personally. So be a part of that community, not just being on an island by yourself. And don't just say Facebook is my community. That's definitely not true. But how do we then engage together?
Yeah, that's a great habit to build, is connecting with others. Now, I told you before I was going to share something that would be the worst thing you can do if you're trying to change habits. This is what I believe to be true. See what you think here. Changing too many habits at once, trying to change too much too quickly. I think that is a recipe for failure. If you've ever read Profit First or engaged with the Profit First community, you might have heard of this study that was done where they found people. They entered the study, and there were two groups, and probably a control group too, but they were each going to try to run 20 minutes a time for 3 times a week. And one group, they just said, okay, jump in, start running 20 minutes 3 times a week, report back to us how it goes. And the second group, they said, we want you to just stand for 10 minutes while you watch TV. And then, they would come back the next week. How did that go? Okay, now we want you to walk in place for 20 minutes or for 10 minutes while you're watching TV. And then they slowly built up until they were also running 20 minutes 3 times a week. And at the end of the study, they tried to see, which group was actually doing it, running 20 minutes 3 times a week, which group. And as you might suggest by our conversation today, it was the second group, the group that started with just standing 10 minutes. As you're approaching habit change, think of one thing you want to change, but then approach it that way. And especially if you can't see the possibility of how you might change that financial habit, maybe it's overspending, maybe it's not budgeting, maybe it's going out to eat when you plan to actually eat at home, right? A lot of these money habits are tied to other habits. You might want to be like, okay, what do I need to change first? To get to that point. It might not be you're changing that habit, but you're changing something else to help you get there. Be creative. That goes back to the second thing we were playing, talking about, have that imagination. And again, we would love to give you some of those ideas. 2 ways to move forward, or both. You can, of course, get a copy of 5 Smooth Stones. In this week, this is foundation number 4. So it's week number 4. We have some prompts in here to cultivate your motivation, to incorporate more of what you want in your day-to-day life, and so forth. So that's going to help you think this through. You can get the physical copy or a Kindle version over at our website, wealthwisdomfp.com/shop. And then it might also be, you're so close to your situation, you can't think of what's the creative thing, what's the 10 minutes standing in front of the TV equivalent for you right now. We would love to talk to you, schedule that discovery call, and maybe we'll come up with an idea that you didn't think of, or that you thought maybe could be it, but you weren't 100% sure. Or maybe you got 100 ideas, we can help you narrow it down.
Yep, there you go. Because it is not 100 ideas, but it's that taking one action towards your goal.
Yeah. And I'm super excited. This pairs really well with Foundation 5. So be sure you hit subscribe. Be sure you join in for episode number 5. It's really a nice add-on to what we're talking about today with Foundation 4, what you habitually do, you become.
The topics presented in this podcast are for general information only and not for the purpose of providing legal, accounting, or investment advice. On such matters, please consult a professional who knows your specific situation.